Story 1. The third floor. As long as I can remember, I've had strange things that's happened to me in our house. The house is over 250 years old, which, is pretty old. I could always hear someone walking or running up the stairs on the third floor. Sometimes I'd hear music and a whole bunch of voices. They were always pretty loud and always up on that third floor. When I was 14, I decided to have a slumber party, and we slept up on that third floor. I had a little idea to see if they heard or saw anything. At about 1 o'clock in the morning, we heard someone moving around the room, but we were all in a circle, so it couldn't be one of us girls. We looked around the room and saw nothing at first. Then I saw a shadow move. It was running straight towards me. I got really scared, but I couldn't move. I was frozen in fear. The figure ran right through me. I was in shock. The figure turned around and called my name, and then it just disappeared. That night, none of us got any sleep. The next night, I was having trouble sleeping, and I was still thinking about what happened the night before. I was finally dozing off when a shadow moved in my room. The figure was moving right towards me, but it stopped at my bedside, looking at me. I was so scared, but it didn't do anything. I finally got a good look at this figure. He was a teenage boy, maybe 17 years old. He told me to get out of bed and follow him. I got up and I followed him. He led me up the stairs to the third floor, and then I saw something I could not believe. It was a slumber party going on, just like mine, but it was all guys. And then it disappeared. I realized that it must be a flashback of something that had happened in the past, something that happened in this house. I went to the library and started looking up things that happened in my house. I found a news article about a teenage boy of 17 who had been murdered in that house. The picture in the article was of the same boy that I saw the night before. When I went home, I mentioned this to my parents, but they sort of dismissed me. So I told my friends about it, and of course they wanted to stay there again, and of course on the third floor. The same thing happened the next time they spent the night. It was an exact repeat, almost, of the previous slumber party we had had. I haven't quite figured out exactly what he wants me to see, but he keeps haunting me at night, in my dreams, beckoning me to help him. Hopefully, eventually, I can stop this haunting and release him. Story 2. Don't forget to pray. When I was about 13 years old, a friend had gotten me interested in the occult. I was reading about astrology at the time, and had just talked to a psychic about what she did and how she became involved with her profession. She grabbed my hand rather suddenly and said, "You have been marked. Be careful what you wish for. Don't forget to pray tonight." I remembered her words exactly because I wrote them down in my diary, and plus it scared the hell out of me. That evening I went to bed, feeling pretty good about things, having pushed the incident to the back of my mind, thinking that it had just been some sort of weird joke. But I couldn't quite shake the feeling that she had been a little too earnest about her joke, so I said my prayers and went to bed. Our house only had 2 bedrooms, so my bed was in my mother's room, and my brother had the other room. I woke up from a deep sleep, and I couldn't seem to move anything but my eyes. Beside me was a hazy, silver man. Well, part of a man. I could only see the top half of his body. He reached out his hand to me, gesturing for me to follow. Something in me rebelled at the thought of following this figure. But against my will, I felt myself lifting from my body. I tried to scream, but I couldn't move my mouth. I silently shouted, "No, I'm not going with you." But the man merely grinned, and the grin transformed his face into what reminded me of a monkey's face. I drew back slightly. I was amazed that I could control myself that much. I tried even harder to draw away, with what I considered considerable effort. Again, I tried to scream, and I succeeded this time. My mother sat straight up in bed and rushed to my side. The man shivered as I said a quick prayer, and then he disappeared. Story 3. Infinity Bridge. All my life I've had little oddities that are just part of my everyday dealings with life. My friends even call me the Chaos Goddess, as objects tend to disappear, only to reappear in perfectly logical places later. I always have the kindly spirits just hanging around my life, and I've had to chase off a few nasty ones. Beginning when I was young, the most vivid image I have is of my bedroom, most assuredly haunted by something nasty. My bedclothes would rise up at the end of the bed. My closet would swing open. I could see a noose and a figure hanging from it. Ever daddy's brave one, I just hunkered down under the covers. I prayed to God. Boy, did I pray. As I grew older, the vision stopped, and the audible noises began. I'd be taking baths in an empty house, and I could hear someone calling and banging on the door. "Help me! Help me!" I'd jump out of the bath, dripping water on the carpet, and dash out the door, only to find the noise suddenly growing fainter as I ran around the house looking for it. I'd never find the source of the cry, but I always chased it, hoping to somehow help. My friends would witness pictures that would slide across the countertops, glasses of water that would move across counters and window sills. There was a cross-stitch of Mary Poppins that my mother had made, and at night it would move, and it would try to talk to me. My sister would see this too. We told Mom, and she accused us of watching too much late-night TV. Later in my life, I was at a friend's house. This friend had been stalked by ghosts. I had forgotten about my childhood visitors, and just silently discredited everything. Staying at her house one night, the room grew chilly and cold. I sat up in bed, and there, at the end of the bed, was an entity looking directly at her. He was clothed in black that seemed to pull any potential light in the room, his eyes gleaming in the light. He turned to me. My friend slept fitfully beside me, but she never woke. I looked in horror at this figure, and my mind went blank. Eventually, I just screamed at him to leave. "In the name of God, leave!" And he swiftly departed, and my friend fell into a deep, sound sleep. She claims she's not seen him since. One weird instance happened at Infinity Bridge. It's in Fort Worth. It's a bridge that's built in such a way that when you're under it, looking at the support beams, it seems to transform itself into endless doorways, into an infinity. My husband, a man of science and a true skeptic, has even been a little creeped out by this place. He will tell you that even during the day, when you are under the bridge, you should be able to see where the bridge ends, and you just can't. It seems to reach on forever. My husband, myself, and another couple, a brother and sister, and a dear friend, headed out to this bridge one dark night. We made sure that no one else was around. As it is noted, this is a place where a nastier element tends to hang out. We stood on the first concrete support, looked out over the water, then into the infinite illusion. It wasn't long before the hairs began to rise on my arms. I was filled with peace and joy. The girl next to me, she was filled with fear and dreading. The men, they all either knelt down or got away from there pretty fast, feeling like they couldn't breathe. The sister turned on her brother and began shouting at him. My dear friend just kept looking behind her, as if looking for something. Soon, I saw a white glow coming from somewhere in the darkness. I felt a presence of a small boy who wanted to play. Then I repeatedly heard and saw the water beneath the bridge rippling as if someone was skipping rocks. The girl beside of me saw blackness and dark tendrils from the doorway. She never saw the light that I did, and I never saw the darkness that she did. After we got back, I did some question asking. I had never heard of this bridge, and I did not know the story. Evidently there's a spirit of a little boy trapped there, who was killed in some sort of ritual. Or maybe he just drowned. I've heard multiple stories. One way or the other, no one knows for sure. His body was found beneath the bridge in the water. Most everyone who goes there senses evil. Most everyone who senses evil is somehow compelled to come back and revisit the place. I was given a very rare experience indeed, as it's not very often the little boy's spirit comes out. We made it back to the car. Everyone was a little shaken up. The sister was most affected by this intense pull to return to the bridge. I will not return, unless I can learn how to release the boy's spirit. But he does not seem to be disturbed to be trapped there. Maybe he's there to protect people. I don't know. Regardless, I felt safe that night from the evil that everyone else felt. It never touched me. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And why don't you leave a comment below? Tell me about your own personal paranormal experience. Or if you don't believe in the paranormal, let me know that. Thanks for listening. Bye.